boils down to, as Dr. Cabrera was saying, public safety.
Right on. 8:45. Here's who's coming up on the show, guys. I think we're getting John Beneventi, who is the
General manager of the Guam Power Authority.
thank you,
Yeah.
the general manager of the Guam Power Authority, because there was a tip that actually our next guest, Senator Joanne Brown, had received. And Senator Joanne Brown, she ran on this platform of corruption, as in, like, she's going to fight it. And so I guess that means people give her a lot of tips. Senator, good morning.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
We're doing pretty good. Good.
No, I was just going to say, your phones, have they been like ringing off the hook, or you've got like a lot of mail coming through?
Well, I guess unexpectedly. I mean, we're a pretty small office, but certainly in this short time that we've been, I mean, we're only beginning our third month. But yes, I mean, you run into people in different places, and now people are, mailing things to us, or they call, and, of course, they don't want to identify themselves, but, they may want to relay what issues or concerns they have involving government of Guam agencies. And, I guess I can only assume, because again, I don't know necessarily who the individual is that's providing the source of the information, but in some cases, to what degree we can, we try to verify if there's validity. I mean, if they mention someone's name, we check, does these individuals even work in a department or agency? And then from there, we'll forward it to the respective oversight chair, because they have, more regular engagement with the heads of these departments or agencies, and have them determine if it's something that they want to pursue or they see any validity to it. Because of course, it's very easy to make allegations, and, sometimes people out there want to just make somebody else's life uncomfortable and may, try to use this as a mechanism. But our main focus is on concern, obviously, in our public capacity, is just wanting to make sure government of Guam agencies and all our public officials are acting responsibly, in the performance of their duties.
So you got, I want to just, I don't know how many other tips you received, but so you received the tip about the airport, that was airport officers, that was weeks ago. It was forwarded to Senator Amanda Shelton. Then, we hear about you received an anonymous letter regarding GPA employees, and you forwarded that to Senator Clint Ridgell. Have you received any other letters, phone calls regarding allegations of illegal gambling?
So far, those have been the key ones that we have received so far. And, much to my surprise, I really didn't even know that this was an issue, in the government of Guam. But apparently it's kind of blown up that, it's extending, like it has tentacles that are extending to other operations in the government. And I think that's unfortunate. To begin with, I mean, gambling is not something that our people on Guam, at least in the opportunity and the times they've had to vote on it, have voted in favor of it. But then to have any awareness that, our public employees that, during their working hours, you're expecting them to perform their respective duties and responsibilities, may be engaging in this type of gambling activity during working hours. It's very disheartening and discouraging to hear that. I mean, especially, anytime, but especially now when there are many people in our community that have reduced work hours or lost their jobs as a result of this pandemic. And I think sometimes we get a little too settled and a little too comfortable once we get in our operation, and we kind of forget what our responsibilities are, that, we're engaging in this kind of nonsense during working hours. And that's just not acceptable. And I think as time goes on, this shield that has been put on the rest of the government of Guam, of not holding other public officials accountable to the level of scrutiny and expectation that our people expect. I certainly see and hear it when I'm out there. I mean, even though, this last election was not as one-on-one engaging because of the pandemic, but, people still relate to me. They run into me at the, the grocery store or wherever, the post office, and relay their concerns and frustrations about not being able to get the responses and services from the government. And I kind of forgot in the years I've been out of office how many people gravitate towards the legislature, asking us, to kind of interface and represent their issues of concerns to government and Guam agencies, because they're not getting the response back, good or bad, whatever the message is, but they don't feel that the government is responsive to them, and they're trying to ask us for assistance to help them,
Right.
even though it doesn't fall within our legislative responsibilities.
Yeah,
But
Senator.
you're wondering, why is there a need to do that? Why can't our people go directly to these government of Guam department and agencies and get the response and assistance that they need? And then you hear this kind of stuff going on in the government, and that's very bothersome.
You know, we did. I guess you could say is just have a WhatsApp conversation back and forth with Senator Amanda Shelton regarding the situation when it first came out about the airport, and she didn't seem like she was going to hold an oversight hearing, but kind of like just stand back and watch and see how this investigation kind of progresses, and if needed, she would call one, I guess. But do you, if you were in the majority, if you had oversight authority
Of the airport or the port or GPA or any...
would you call an oversight hearing, or do you feel that it would be better appropriate to just wait and see how this all plays out?
Well, I don't doubt that there's a need for the respective authorities to do their investigation, but I certainly would want, from a policy standpoint, to question these department and agencies as to what their policies and procedures are, and what are they implementing with regards to their, responsibilities in operation, and were they even aware of it as the head of these department or agencies? I mean, sometimes, of course, things can be happening. I've been a head of a department and agencies where, sometimes you're the last to know, right? But I think those things need to be brought to light, because I'm going to want to know what if they were not aware that if these things were happening, what are they doing now a little differently to make sure that there's accountability in the operations of the government. And as I mentioned, there's too many shields that are put on the rest of government of Guam operations. Government has been how I look at it, and this is now, goodness, except for my 2 years out, I'm on my 33rd year now. I very much see the government as least accountable to the people, because the processes and protections that we put in place, and the secrecy, and the, leaving it behind the closed doors, and we can't comment on this and we can't comment on that, really makes the government less accountable and less responsive to the people that we're supposed to be serving. And it's out of reach for most people now. That's why, goodness, if you have something you need with the government of Guam, sometimes good luck, because how do you ensure accountability? How do you ensure the delivery of service? How do you ensure responsiveness when you have a system set up that almost does everything to prevent that from being possible? And I just don't think that's how government should work. I really think we need to change how some of these operations are, so that people feel that sense of responsibility. I've been in public life for many years, and so I kind of understand that comes with the territory, that visibility of who you are and what you're doing or what you're not doing. People see it, but they don't see that for the bulk of the government, the rest of the body of the government that's supposed to be on a daily basis working in their interest. They don't know who most of these people are, and in most cases they're not held responsible. And even when they are, it's very difficult. And Sabrina, as you know, in some of your interviews, it's very difficult to even get any information, because that's that they can't reveal that information, especially when it's regarding personnel matters. And yet some of these offenses that have been committed, and some of these things that have cost our people, a lot of money, you don't hear about it. It's not talked about. It's like some big sacred, secrecy. And I just don't think that's how our government should be. I think the more open it is, the more transparent it is, the more accountable it's going to be, because everybody can, has the eyes and ears to see what's going on with their government, rather than this existing structure where you're hearing, particularly, those that are in law enforcement, those that have that additional layer of power and that additional layer of responsibility that comes with it, that might be using and abusing those positions and the power that they have, the power that's been given to them by the people. And they're, we don't know who they are. We can't talk about it. We can't comment. We can't this. We can't that. It's all the things we can't do, instead of ensuring that these people are responsible. And because they don't feel that level of scrutiny, they do as they do. Good luck if you catch me. I'm going to bide my time till I retire. And I just don't think that's the kind of level of responsive government and accountable government that we need, and that most people that I run into unexpectedly will come up to me and approach me with regards to their frustrations, with their own government that they see and experience.
I mean, but what was... I feel like maybe Senator Shelton doesn't want to come out too hard, because she obviously has some gambling in her background. And so for her to come out and say, hey, Bubba, no gambling, don't gamble online, go gamble at the game room. It's just not a good look. I guess. I mean, because I was kind of like, oh, first of all, it was so hard to get a response from her, and then when we did get one, it was kind of this like, oh, there's an investigation, so we're just going to let that play out. But I mean, investigation. Now we're hearing that the feds are looking into this whole thing, Senator.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, I heard from reports. I don't know. I mean, if the FBI were doing investigations, and I've been obviously running agencies where, I've been approached by the FBI with regards to work that they're doing or things that they're investigating with operations, and that's generally not my dynamic to go out and issue a press release about the work that they're doing. I kind of feel if the FBI is going to do an investigation and they're going to make an announcement on what they're doing, I'm sure they can do that on their own. But if that is indeed the case, then, so be it. I guess we'll wait and see where that will lead. If these type of things are happening in the government, and we're hearing it's not just a few dollars here or there for lunch money and amusement, when you're talking about organized gambling, and it be it occurring online or whatever the case may be, where money's being transacted, that's obviously not something that we've allowed to be legal here in our community. And when you have public officials, and people always think it's the visible ones, the governor, the legislature, your mayor from your village or whatever. And public officials, to me, is anyone and everyone that's working and receiving a paycheck from the people of Guam. Is engaging in this, and then, having the time to do it during working hours. You got to wonder what the heck is going on. Where are these supervisors?
Maybe that's why they're not answering the phone.
I don't know. Maybe that's the case. I have no idea, but those are the type of things that those structures are put in place to make sure, that's why they get paid the big bucks at the higher level, to be looking in and making sure that their people are properly performing their duties during working hours. And hey, you're not going to know everything, but by all means, when you find out about it, then by all means, you should be taking appropriate action. The fact that this is coming from the outside into department agencies, you got to wonder what's going on in that department and agency, that these issues are not being brought to light, or it's all hush hush and it's all undercover. That the leadership and management is not catching it and becoming aware of it on their own. Why is it outside factors that have to be the one, or outside forces have to be the one to bring these issues to light? I mean, that seems to be very, very, unusual. Why is that the case? I think those are the questions we should be asking with regard. And it's not just the head of the department or agency, it's all the supervisory levels, moving up and down the system. Who's keeping track of what our people are doing during working hours. And, you want to do a good faith system that everyone's being responsible and that they're doing their job. And hey, I know there are a lot of good people that keep things moving here in our government, but there's always that, in the barrel, there's always a few of those bad apples, those bad players that are engaging in things they're not supposed to be doing during, their working time when they're supposed to be doing their job, that make it look bad for everybody. But how come those people are not being tracked? How come these things are not coming up within that department or agency leadership to bring these issues to light? And of course, address corrective action so that we have the responsive government we're supposed to be having. I'm really getting the impression, Chris, things get really laid back. It's just like, hey, whatever, it's another week, it's another month. I'm out driving my Guam truck, and, I drive it all over. Nobody's keeping track of me. Why is that the case in our government? Why aren't we requiring that? Because I know as a legislator, I'm not going in and running a department or agency. But those that are, I think have a greater level of responsibility when these things come to surface to try and address corrective action, especially when it's brought to light. So that they can get things on track. Because that's all I hear. I hear it more now this time around being in elective office than I did 26 years ago when I first ran. I hear it more. I hear the frustrations of our people more with regards to government operations and the lack of the level and the quality of service that they want to see. And I just think we got some people that are taking a lot for granted. To be able to have a good, decent job, to be able to have health care, do the things you need to take care of your family, that to me is a big plus. And I think some people just kind of take it for granted because they got that. And then they're looking at their plates saying, hey, I want even more. I want to be doing other things that they shouldn't be doing, in their official capacity. And, what are you saying to us? What are you saying to the public when you do stuff like that? Especially some of these concerns for me, lately in law enforcement. You got to nod your head and go, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Senator Brown.
We got to run because we got John Beneventi on line one.
So, Senator Brown.
No problem. It's always good to talk to John, but thank you very much.
Senator Brown, what's the the phone number for the Legislative Committee on Crackdown on Corruption?
Well, we're certainly working on that. We're working on the process, and to put that in place. As I mentioned, I did have discussions with with our speaker Terlahi with regards to that matter. I'm hoping to be able to sit down with her in the near future to go over that and get her blessing and her concurrence. So we actually could create that committee so that there's something beyond just an individual senatorial perspective here, and actually have a committee that has input from different members of the legislature that can be assigned to that to address this. Because what we are seeing, what we are feeling, and maybe this gambling issue is just one factor that significant. Now that we're finding it's maybe extending to a number of other government and Guam department and agencies, is that there definitely is a need for a committee on corruption, and a place where people that have information that they want to be able to provide. Of course, we have to vet it, make sure there's some legitimacy to it. But eventually it'll lead you in the direction. If it's legitimate information, it's going to lead you to the source of where it's coming from. That we need to have something in place so that our people, our employees, are a lot of good employees. And I don't doubt that probably the information we are getting is probably within that circle of employees from those department or agencies that have knowledge of what's going on, but have no other means of getting it out, or if they go up through their own management process, probably will get blacklisted or harassed, or hey, you're the source of snitching on this information, and then those people's lives become a little uncomfortable.
So what's your office number, Senator? That's what Bree really meant.
I have to look it up. Do I even call my office? I mean, I actually have it on my phone, Chris. I have to look it up and tell you what it is. But I'll forward that to you so you can have your listeners call in the number. Sorry, I don't call my office very often.
Right on, I can understand. Yeah, you need to get a catchy number like 477 Corruption Buster.
I wish so, but I'll WhatsApp it to you in a minute or two.
Thank you.
I just have to pull it up. But you asked me a question now I can't answer. What is my office number? Because I don't call myself.
Now people are going to turn this.
The directory. If you look up the Guam Legislature, my number's there, and I'll WhatsApp it to you so you can announce it to you.
Maybe I'll WhatsApp it to you first.
Okay, no problem.
All right, Senator.
You guys take care and have a good weekend.
You too, have a good weekend.
All right.
Okay, right on. Senator Joanne Brown. Yeah, she's getting complaints, guys. People want to send her things. They want to tell her things because she comes on and, making a good case for what she's doing. Isn't that crazy, though, that you can just run on one issue, corruption, and get a seat in the legislature? It kind of tells you what people are thinking of our local government. 902, let's head to the phones where we have the General Manager of the Guam Power Authority, Mr. John Beneventi. Good morning, John. Thanks for holding.
No problem.